Fake questions, real answers. I have things I want to talk about and don't want to wait for you to ask me. Dear Colin, boy, what an amazing week of college football, isn't it? Doesn't this prove that college football is better than the NFL? Folks, no. There are 2 weekends a year when social media erupts and makes the claim that college football is better than the NFL. Labor Day weekend, when college football has 4 or 5 big games and the NFL season hasn't started, and Thanksgiving/rivalry weekend, when you always have upsets in your Auburn, Alabamas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Michigan, Ohio State. It's a rivalry weekend. Listen, there's a reason we like the Stanley Cup playoffs over college hockey. There's a reason we like, by a 6-1 margin, the NFL over college football and Major League Baseball over the College World Series, because it's better. The coaching's better. The quarterbacking's better. The players are better. Okay? America likes better, and we're willing to pay for better. People will go in debt to pay for better. College football's fun, and 2 weeks of the year, everybody goes nuts. Look at every piece of data and metric. NFL is 6 times more popular for a reason. Dear Colin, what word makes you go crazy? It's always the same word, integrity. Folks, you got to get over integrity. There's a reason Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley and all these coaches bail, because they're offered generational money. Brian Kelly turned around a dying brand. The last 12 years, Notre Dame has been its best 12 years, arguably ever. Take away the Ara Parseghian era. You don't think he has a right eventually to cut the cord? And would you stop with what about the kids? The transfer portal, education, great facilities, great travel, massive marketing. They get paid NIL. The kids are fine. Stop talking about integrity. That's for people who have never been offered great jobs. They're moralists on integrity. If somebody offers you $100 million, you're out the door before I can sign the effing check, and you know it. Lincoln Riley looked at USC, generational money. I'm out. The kids will be fine. They can transfer and follow them if they want, or they can stay at a great program in Oklahoma. Stop trying to preach integrity. Oklahoma leads the country in fracking. Is that environmental integrity? When I think of Oklahoma football, I think of Barry Switzer. Yeah, integrity comes to mind. Your integrity's not mine. My morals aren't yours. Dear Colin, did you hear about the Major League Baseball lockout? Yeah, barely. Listen, the difference between no baseball and them playing it, the activity is all about the same, right? If you took away all these sports and you started over with sports and you needed investors to create a sport, you do realize baseball couldn't get investors. I mean, football could go to investors and go, we got this idea for a sport. There's violence. It's great on television, and people gamble on it. And there's a lot of action. Basketball. Listen, there's this sport. The season's kind of long, but it's got a bunch of stars. You could sell that. Baseball. It's slow. There's way too many games, and there's not a ton of activity. You couldn't find investors for it. It's nothing against baseball, but here's all you need to know about baseball. I see my audience. I see how big it is. I barely talk about it. If I don't talk football, college football, and the NBA, I lose massive chunks of my audience. Watch First Take. Watch Undisputed. Listen to my show. Watch Dan Patrick. Here's something we don't talk about. Regular season baseball. I don't want to see a strike. I like postseason baseball. But the reality is, this is a sport that will be severely hurt by a lockout if it moves into the regular season, because lots and lots of young people have already given up on baseball. It's too slow. not enough action. Dear Colin, what do you make of ESPN swapping out the Lakers-Clippers game and replacing it with the Warriors and Suns? Well, I actually like the move, and I think it's just and real. We all admit in our business, all of us have to admit this, that big brands are good for our business. The Packers, the Cowboys, they're really good for my business. Notre Dame being vibrant is really good for my business. Duke, Carolina being in a Final Four, Elite Eight, it's very good for my business. Yankees, Cubs postseason. I've never, ever, ever tried to be inauthentic about that. I've tried to always be totally honest with you. But in my business, we also have to be straight with the audience and not try to sell something for more than it's worth. The Lakers are bad. They're not nearly as good as the Suns, the Bucks, Brooklyn, the Warriors. I'm not going to pretend, even though the Lakers being great would be really, really great for my business, I'm not going to pretend they're interesting. And the Lakers, I believe, is one of these gigantic brands that's in trouble. Now, the Yankees play in a sport without a salary cap, so they can always buy themselves out of trouble. And I do think USC football, a brand that's been dying, will bounce back with Lincoln Riley. I think generally the big brands go down, they come back up. Lakers have a problem. They're tied to LeBron, and they're tied to Anthony Davis. And Anthony Davis is now a declining player who refuses to play his natural position, the 5. He's shooting 19% from 3. He wants to be a 4. That's why Frank Vogel will not last with his team. Vogel wants a big, AD doesn't want to be a big, and the players in the NBA have more power than a coach. But the other issue is LeBron James generationally, young players don't want to play with him. Why would a young player want to give their emerging brand to LeBron? That's why the Lakers have Westbrook and Melo and Dwight Howard, because older players still hold LeBron in a different category, the legend category. But Michael Jordan got old. Young players didn't want to play with him. Go ask all those Wizards. Young players don't want to play with LeBron James. They want to create their own brand.